forget making the statement. I'm not making an argument that we shouldn't be allowed to vote anymore, but I'm saying, like, have we been responsible?
I hate to say it because
wait, but that's what you're implying, though. You're implying that that we should take that right away because you've been irresponsible. That's God. These people are such fucking cowards. So, Candace Owens, we're all aware of.
All right, guys. As you can see.
Hey, shut the fuck up, dumb bitch. We are all aware, I think, of who Candace Owens is. Candace Owens, as some might know her by. Daily Wire host. Uncle Tom, real. A real life Samuel L. Jackson's character from Django Unchained. She has, always kind of been the face that conservatism pushes out there to speak poorly on black people and black culture. Same with the other person in here, Officer Tatum, another representative of the state and another person who is black, and therefore you can't argue with their shitty stances on black issues. So these two got together and apparently had a whole conversation about homosexuality ruining Western civilization, which I find really ironic, because if you ask the people who Candace Owens aligns herself with, there's a non-zero chance that they're gonna say what really ruined Western civilization long ago. You go back far enough, it's people like Candace Owens and Officer Tatum. I don't know if she knows this, but the same people who aren't incredibly favorable of gay people aren't exactly incredibly favorable of black people either. They kind of enjoyed back when black people were just, property. It's just kind of a thing, They were much more, I think, preferential to that relationship that black people had to them. But, maybe they'll make some good points. I really highly doubt. But let's take a look, shall we?
All right, guys, as you can see, this conversation is about to get really spicy. So to hear it in its entirety, head over to dailywire.com or to twitter.com to hear it.
And one more point I want to make is when you were speaking about the sexualization of homosexuality and all that stuff, that's what you see is bred in the pride movement. When you go to a pride club, you don't see regular people just sitting around there like, oh, we love each other. Like, even if you had like a heterosexual.
They almost equate love to
it's
sex.
Lust. It's sex.
Lust.
The only reason that a man wants to be with another man is because of sexual lust. It's not just love. You can love a person that you're not overly attracted to. But if it's about sex, it's about lust, if it's about a man being attracted to another man's genitalia, that's a different thing. And I feel like they don't want to.
Wait, okay. So already off the bat, we have a distinct lack of understanding of gay sexual attraction. So there are people, especially with the prevalence of transgender people, there are people who have genital preferences, and there are people who have gender preferences, and those two aren't always aligned. There are people who have gender preferences, but their actual genital preference is the opposite of that sometimes. It's not really weird. It's just kind of what you're into, if you're into this or that. What this is, a lot of it is a reduction of gay identity to be, if you're a man, you like dick, and if you're a woman, you like vagina. When that really isn't that's kind of like saying all that being straight is about is liking the opposite of that. And that's not what really being straight is about, at least in my conception, I would suppose. There isn't this, we also don't think about being straight as being into anything or having a preference. It's just a default. It is just the thing. It is water running. There is no questioning of that. There is no well, why do you like this or that? And there's no Officer Tatum. If you asked him, Officer Tatum, why do you like vagina? He would probably say, I don't know. It's just always have. And ask any gay person, and you'll be like, oh, why do you ask any gay dude, why do you like dick? And they'll be like, I don't know. Just kind of do. Just kind of always been that way. Because nobody thinks this hard. It's actually really evident of how obsessed they are, because they've done so much thinking about what other people enjoy, sexually and romantically. Like they've thought about it. It's just on their mind 24/7. Like what genitalia people are into. It's really, really weird.
Admit to that. It's all about sex, and they get sexually perverse through being molested, through being raped or whatever the case may be, or exposed to.
Yes, the usual gay people are only you're only gay if you got sexually assaulted or sexually abused, which is not verifiable. I've never seen evidence to actually back that up.
Pornography at an early age, exposed to sex at an early age, and they begin to have this psychological confusion, and they go down the wrong path. I don't believe people are born that way. I believe people are born with probably the propensity, meaning that some men are born a little more feminine than other men, but I don't think a person is born, they're nurtured into it.
So it's interesting that you say.
Yeah, and this is and I appreciate the honesty. He's just like, yeah, I don't think you're born gay. I think you just get sexually abused into being gay, which at the end of the day is really weird because it's like, are you I would assume I guess he assumes that no, everyone's born straight and you choose to walk away from that. But even if we went under that conception, right? So what? Why is it Candace's business? Why is it Officer Tatum's business at all? What about that decision that somebody else makes with their romantic and sexual life? What about that is anybody else's business? And certainly what about that is the government's business? That's also the other angle to this. I want everyone to keep in mind, these people aren't just advocating and aren't just speaking as like two individuals. At the end of the day, they are supporting. At the end of the day, they are supporting and they are advocating for political change and for political for second-class citizenry for certain groups. It just happens to be gay people. Again, I said it earlier. In the party in which Candace and this dude run in, keep in mind, these are all things. These are all the same tactics, all the same hate that would be thrown their way for being black. They've just decided that it's better to be in the house than in the slave house.
Say that because if you had said that to me right when I got started in my career, however long it was, I would have said that is wild. And like I said, I was much more moderate. And I think what really changed for me was a discussion that I had with someone who's on my creative team. He's a gay man. He's also not but he's a Christian. And the reason why he says he's a Christian is because he does not, like, he says, I am gay, but he does not, it's the sin of sodomy. He does not engage in that,
Yeah.
Instead he.
Yeah, which means he's in the closet. It's called repression. That's what that is. It's repressing your preferences. It's repressing your lifestyle, your way of being, because, whoa, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do that. It means repressing. You can't see what I did. I just turned off studio mode. It means the repression of one's identity, the repression of one's preferential way of living, because they've been told that there's a book that told them that they're not supposed to do that. That's all it is.
Goes to church. He believes that this is. It's very interesting to talk.
And keep in mind, there are gays who go to church and have perfectly normal relationships
growing
with
up. I
religion.
can tell you that of all of the gay people that I know that I used to party with, because he used to be like actually like engaging in sodomy, that maybe only 6% of them are actually gay. He's like, are actually gay and were born gay. He said for the rest of them, it's become a social contagion.
Right. So again, this comes down to, if 6% can be born gay, right? Then that means that, and by the way, that's not a study. But if he is arguing that there is some percentage of people who are born gay, then that completely undermines everything Tatum just said. He just said, I don't think anyone's born that way. Well, your evidence is that a small percentage are, and the rest are a social contagion, to which that means until you find me scientifically the number of gay people, scientifically, then we must submit to the idea that, yeah, some people are just born gay. You can not believe that if you'd like, but that's kind of a you issue, not that person's issue.
it is also something that they are doing at, like me. He said, I have daddy issues. My dad walked out on me when I was X, however many years old. And he said, and for me, I wanted that relationship with a man because my dad wasn't here. To hear that come out of a gay man's mouth shocked me because it's something that obviously when I was in school, it's like, no, 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 they were all born.
Yeah. First of all, it didn't shock you because you've been pushing this shit for a while. But also, yeah, there's like abusive relationships, and I love this idea that like there is only abusive relationships in like gay couples' marriages or whatever. Like at the end of the day, the number one place for like child predation is in the home, and it usually comes from like other family members. That's not like a gay specific thing. That just kind of happens to people across the board. Sadly, it's not a like I don't understand why they try to. I mean, I understand why. It's because they hate gay people. But like at the end of the day, what are we? You know, where's your actual link here? This has always been a theory. I don't think to my knowledge. You know what? I'll Google it on the side. I'll let you know what I find while we listen to this. But you know, I've never seen any causal link. Mostly just a correlative, or a or like a very like loose link between child sexual abuse and gay identity. I have yet to see anything concrete because I really don't think it exists. The same way these guys don't.
And what he's saying is, no, there might be a very small subset of people that are born this way. And his argument is that he believes those people should give their lives to art and creative works and to God, and that they should not engage in sodomy.
So even if it's a small percentage, do those people get to have rights? Or because they're a small percentage of the population,
then when you take a
you'd
look
like
at
to
what's
strip
happening
their
with
rights from them?
I do believe
Like at the end of the day, conservatism is a minoritarian ideology in this country. Do I think we should be stripping rights from conservatives because they are because they're in a minority? Yes. I mean, no. But I mean, but no, we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be doing that. But no, it's like, okay, even if it's a minority, who cares? Like they still should be able to get married, still should be able to have all the rights. Like the idea that like, oh, like being gay isn't like a majority thing. Okay, who cares? Whatever. Liking the color, I don't fucking know. Robin's egg blue is also not a majority opinion. People still get to like Robin's egg blue. Like, what's the harm here? And again, they can't point to harm.
Very, very, very
the harm
small
is
subset of the population that is dealing with real gender dysphoria. We obviously now know, looking at these statistics, that the rest is just a social contagion.
Yeah.
For the rest of people, it's what they're learning. In America, I had this person who used to work with me who was from Romania who came over here and said, why are there so many gay people here? And it was a very weird thing to hear somebody say. I was very shocked by that. I'm like, what do you mean why there's so many?
Thanks, Scrooge.
Like, why are there so many gay people here? I'm like, what does that mean? And the person said, in my country, there's not this many gay people. Well, because America began like in the 90s kind of saying in the same way that we're doing right now with transgenderism, that this is just an option. And so it went from small subset of people who were perhaps molested. And I think of all these examples of.
Notice she has absolutely no data to back this up. She's just saying perhaps was molested, maybe was this, maybe was that. It could have been this. Like they're just reaching for anything that they can. Also, once again, man, where is it? Give me it. We're just gonna do this really quickly because every time they talk about a social contagion, every single time, left-handedness in the United States, when it became not outlawed and not like when it was socially acceptable, more people who are left-handed came out as being left-handed. Not really, yeah. Like, what is it? Let's see. Oh, we have one that's what's it called? Interesting. We have one that's like a state chart. 9.7% out here. You know, you get a lot in here. 1950s are left-handed. Yep. It's almost like social contagions are also not only that, but the idea that like, we can't have people, we can't have people change their lives due to a social contagion. What the fuck are you talking about? Every single article of clothing everybody wears is socially contagious because people see something that they think is like cool, or they like, what's the word? You know, they think a style is cool. They think that, you know, they see a movie, like everybody who hears about a good movie and goes to see it the second week, that's a social contagion. The idea that like we have to be interested in policing social contagions is fucking ridiculous. You know, at the end of the day, all that is really is like a interest in preserving this like politically correct approach or understanding of the world at the end of the day. Like that's what she's arguing for. She's arguing for people acting in a way that's more politically correct towards her beliefs. Like at the end of the day, that's all this is. This is right-wing PC culture. This is, I don't like gay people, therefore we should make sure that the gays can't be the, you know, people can't want to be gay. Who cares? Why do you care? Like, do you think, Candace, you can be convinced to be gay? I bet you don't. So, like, what are you worried about? Always exists that people came out as lefty when the nuns stopped smacking. Yeah, exactly. Like, at the end of the day, when, you know, oh, you know what's a good example of this? Oh, you know what? I mentioned fashion earlier. You know what a good example of this one is? In the early 2000s, right? In the real early 2000s, like I'm talking 2001, 2002, 2003, there was a prevalence of rappers wearing like baggy jeans all the time, right? Like that was like kind of the look back then. You had the baggy jeans, the big shirts, the big jackets and everything else, right? And around like maybe 2006, 2007, there began to be this like shift where like newer rappers would wear like skinny jeans. And I remember it being like, you know, in the beginning, you know, I remember people being like, oh, that's like so gay. And that was the insult, is that like wearing that was like gay, which was bad, which was not good, da 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 da, right? And like as time moved on and people went, it's just fucking jeans. And like as people's tastes changed, then, you know, and you saw more rappers, more people wear skinny jeans. And then skinny jeans kind of became the cool thing. And now it's, I don't even know where fashion is now. I'm not a fashion person, especially when it comes to rap. I can't keep up with the young ones in terms of rap and hip hop anymore. But yeah, like at the end of the day, like people change, people's tastes change. Like who cares? Even if I am to grant, and I say all of this as granting her social contagion thought process, which I think is like bullshit and stupid. But like, even if I'm to grant that, who cares? Even in her in her best case scenario, it still comes down to like, why do you give a shit? Let people do what they want to do. Let people grow and like discover new things. There are people who are gay who like as they get older end up becoming bi because they realize, oh, like I'm actually kind of attracted to both. There are people who bi who end up like at the end of the day, this is all a rejection of the idea that sexuality is fluid, because to them, like they need these strong, hard structures of the patriarchy for them to understand how to function. This is all just defense of the patriarchy as well.
Ellen DeGeneres, Melissa Etheridge, people have talked about their molestation in youth, who then lesbians say, okay, I don't want to be with a man anymore because I was molested. Mm-hmm. It's a defense, right? You're not born this way. Something happened to you and you now no longer want to be with a man. Not every person, but
thanks, Ellen DeGeneres. Appreciate that.
I do know a lot of gay men who were molested, who like somehow and now they're into men. So, but we're not allowed to even have this discussion. I mean, this discussion that we're having, people don't want to be honest and talk about this stuff, which then.
All right, as somebody she's definitely referencing, because they're, you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to get comments on this video, be like, you're so triggered, you can't handle the conversation. No, what I'd like is an actual conversation about facts and not a bunch of anecdotes. At the end of the day, whatever led Ellen DeGeneres to being a lesbian, I don't care. And quite frankly, Ellen DeGeneres does not represent all lesbians, let alone all gay people. This is what happens when you have like the fucking amoeba brain, the daytime like suburban mom brain that Candace Owens has always had. This shallow, keeping up with the Kardashians level, fucking insight into like pop culture. That's what this is. This is celebrity tabloid culture. That's actually, now that I think about it, that's actually the thing that she fills. Because if you take a look at her content, it's all like tabloid culture, right? And like at the end of the day, tabloid culture isn't there to inform you, isn't there to have a real conversation. It's there to just say the exact same thing over again, which is, well, Ellen DeGeneres said that she was molested and that's why she's gay. All right. That's really sucks for Ellen DeGeneres. It's too bad Ellen DeGeneres was not elected as the representative of all gay people. You can point to all of your friends that you say were molested, that you say that they said they're molested, as evidence that, nope, that means gay people have all been molested. That's the only reason why any of them are like this. That's it. You can say that. But, you know, personally, I'd like a little bit more evidence to that. I'd like a statistic, something that gives me, something, just anything to chew on. But they don't have it because it doesn't exist. Because there's no evidentiary baseline for the idea that the identity, the existence of gay people is due to molestation. We have had molestation throughout the history of our species. People raped and pillaged villages for centuries. Rape is not new, people. Like, this has been going on forever. Like, Jesus.
And bars, gay men, like the gay men I talked to, would never be able to say this publicly.
Well,
because
women
it
that
would
were
be considered
molested while children did
homophobic.
that. Yeah,
Right.
it's
They
like
have an
you
agenda.
can't be. Yeah,
They have an
at the end of the
agenda. They
day,
need the
like
agenda to
neither
be
of these
pushed.
two people
Real
think
gay
that they
people
can
don't
be
even have a say
convinced
in this.
to be.
LGBTQ plus AARP, NAACP, whatever they want to add to it. That is not
You know, I could make a reading joke, but I'm not going to.
even a representation of probably most gay people.
Yeah.
That's the whole agenda that they're pushing to try to, I think they're doing this to get to kids. They're
Oh
doing
yeah,
this to
also
push
they're
pedophilia
also
at
the
some
whole
point.
like
That's their end
real.
goal. But when you look at it, I wish that they would do research on this. Every gay person, let's
You
go
don't-
look at the
you don't think
household
they've
breakup,
done-
a household makeup.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a father in the home? Were you exposed to pornography at a young age?
That's like all this dude's thing is like is that does Officer Tatum have dad problems? Does he have daddy issues? Does his dad walk out on him? Is he still waiting for his dad to get the milk? Because I swear, every fucking video I see of this guy, it's always fathers in the homes. It's always whatever the fuck thing he's about to say right now, because I've heard it a million times. Like, it's always the same shit. In which it's like, dude, these talking points are from like the 2000s. Like, update your talking points, man. We already know that having only one parent in the house leads to worse outcomes. But what's funny is there's no evidence that you need both a man and a woman to fill those voids. What research has found is that having two parents of any gender identity, any at all, leads to better outcomes. For all we know, 3 parents could be better. 4 parents, even better. The more parents you have, the better it is. There was a time long ago when like society would raise your kids, where like the community you lived in would raise your kids, that neighbors would like, neighbors would take your kids in for days, that, your grandparents would live with you, all that sort of stuff. There used to be a time when like you were raised by a community. And I would argue that like were there better outcomes? Yeah, probably. Like I'm willing to bet that there are probably better outcomes the more parental figures you have. But they want to make it like, oh, you need a man and you need a woman because again, it's patriarchy.
Were you molested and abused?
Takes a vision.
Kind of
exactly.
what things had happened to you. I guarantee you, as sure as I'm sitting here, or what
Groove
political
Dragon
affiliation
and
your
on
parents
YouTube,
have.
man,
If
you're
you
my
look
favorite.
at all of these things, I would argue that most people who are homosexual, most people who are have trans kids and all this, they either don't have a strong father in their lives. Their parents are either radical, zealot, religious people, which means that they're so over the top that they push their kids to insanity.
Well, we do know what happens when religious zealots raise gay kids. They send them to conversion therapy, which has been described as torture by a lot of, by most, I think, if not all reputable medical boards.
Or you have a situation where they've been exposed to sexuality early.
Me
They've
so
been
my
exposed
back.
to pornography. They've been exposed to sexual deviancy. They've been raped.
Why?
A guy that's been my friend for a very, very long time. He's a preacher, and he tells me how
Oh
he
boy,
struggles
a
with
preacher.
homosexuality.
Wow.
But do you go back into
So isn't that kind of depressing? He like struggles with it. He struggles with his being, with like just the state of his being.
to his life?
Like,
Say, well,
wouldn't
he
you
was
just
he
like
was,
him to live his life
sexually
fully?
abused by his older cousin. He used to live with him. The guy used to abuse him all the time. And so his first exposure to sexuality was with a man.
Mm.
And so now his thoughts of sexuality is with a man.
Mhm.
And he struggles with that, right? But he's a pastor, so he can't live the lifestyle, but it's a struggle. And I don't know a person that was like, I was born this way. I hear people say, well, I knew I was gay from a very long time. But what does that mean? Your attraction or you somehow can't look at a woman in any way? I think it's on the spectrum, to be honest. I
Yeah.
think it's a sliding spectrum. I think that, a lot of these men who are so feminine, they have a very hard time getting with women.
Mm.
And therefore it's easier for them to be with a man than a woman, to be honest. Same thing with tomboy women, like women who are very masculine. They play basketball and stuff like that. They're very masculine. And it's very hard for them to get an attraction from a man because men like feminine women more. There's men that like masculine women. But I think those women find themselves lingering more towards women because guys don't really show them a time of day. Then they live that lifestyle.
I want to go back to actually what you said about emotionality, because you said very quickly that women tend to support homosexuality because we feel. Would you say we feel bad? I don't want to mischaracterize.
Yeah, you guys associate. I mean, you guys have a more empathy for them because that feminine energy, you guys are not. It doesn't offend you.
So you're saying I'm a little bitch.
No, I didn't say that.
But,
He said
Cheers.
it, not me.
no, but there is something here, and it's something that I've been talking about as of recent, which is right now what we are facing.
I'm interested. All right, I found this from the NIH. The impact of sexual abuse on sexual identity formation in gay men. Emerging data suggests that as children, gay males have an increased risk of physical and sexual abuse. Let's see. Gay males. Anecdotal evidence suggests a significant subset of children abused by clergy identify as gay as adults. However, we know very little about the impact of clergy perpetrated sexual abuse in childhood on the development and psychological functioning of gay men. This article describes the okay, yeah. And like again, it's like, can I get like anything that's there's also this one. Sorry, when was this from anyway? Does it say it's from 2013? Pretty out of date. Oh God, 2014? 2012. Let's take a look at the abstract. This I feel like this isn't. Let me see if we can find. Maybe Wikipedia? Environment, and here we go. Let's see. Relationship between the environment and sexual orientation, subject of research. In the study of sexual orientation, some researchers distinguish environmental influences from hormonal influences, while other researchers include biological influences such as prenatal hormones as part of the environmental influences. Scientists do not know the exact cause of sexual orientation, but they theorize that it is a result of complex interplay of genetic, hormonal, environmental influences. They do not view sexual orientation as a choice. Evidence for the impact of the postnatal social environment on sexual orientation is weak, especially for males. There is no substantial evidence which suggests parenting or early childhood experiences influence sexual orientation, but research has linked childhood gender nonconformity and homosexuality. What is that one? Parenting early, that's 7? Sexual Orientation, American Psychiatric Association. From the original? I want to read this. What is sexual orientation? Sexual orientation is a term. Oh, wait, no, I don't want that term. I want the thing. Wait, what is that? There's no substantial evidence that suggests parenting or early childhood experiences. 8, maybe? Submission to the Church of England's listening exercise on human sexuality? I don't. Interviews is disappearing of is disparaging of the very nomenclature of LGBT. How can he give any insight on the subject? Is prejudice evolving? Yeah, I mean they don't know. Like Candace Owens is like, I know some gay people who, and like I'm going to represent what they say. And this dude, again, knows some gay people apparently. Let's see, archived American Psychiatric Association. No, but I want the article. Can I see the article, the exact article? I don't know if I can. Fuck it. Let's read this. Maybe this does give us the information I'm looking for. Is homosexuality a mental disorder? Okay, we already know that isn't. No, all major professional mental health organizations have gone on record to affirm that homosexuality is not a mental disorder. 1973, the American Psychiatric Association boards of trustees removed homosexuality from its DSM-2. What causes? Okay, here we go. No one knows the causes of heterosexual, homosexual, or bisexuality. Homosexuality was once thought to be the result of troubled family dynamics or faulty psychological development. Those assumptions are now understood to have been based on misinformation and prejudice. Currently, there is a renewed interest in searching for biological etiologies for homosexuality. However, to date, there are no replicated scientific studies supporting any specific biological etiology for homosexuality. Similarly, no specific psychological or family dynamic cause for homosexuality has been identified, including histories of childhood sexual abuse. Sexual abuse does not appear to be more prevalent in children who grow up to identify as gay, lesbian, or bisexual than in children who identify as heterosexual. When was this published? I guess I gotta turn off dark mode. When was this published? I'm kind of 2011. Was this 2011? Well, that's when. Does not say, or at least I don't know. I can't see where it is. Resources, Health Minds, blog post supporting gay youth. I mean, it's probably copyrighted in 2011, but that's not. Either way. Anyway, let's continue.
As a crisis of hyperfeminization.
And at the end of the day, that's my
women,
thing. Is there's
we
no
have a
data behind
superpower.
this. This is
We are
just
empathetic,
like
right?
prejudice,
that is an amazing thing. You see
Gay
how
people
great
bad, gay
having
people bad.
empathy and having sympathy, and when we're with our children, there's a reason why my son
100%.
wants me when he's sick,
Mhm.
why my daughter wants me when she's upset. There's a reason.
Could it possibly be because, I don't know, the patriarchy tells us that you're going to be the better caregiver even if you're not? Like, again, this is all the naturalization of just a structure that we've built around the relationship of men and women and children.
For that, because they understand that women are nurturing. And it's funny because Lance Bass spoke on that. Like, he rented a womb, and then his children didn't want him. He said that the babies would rather have been with his mother. Two gay men could not get their babies to connect with them. Like, instantly, he said whenever his mother came over, the baby would cuddle her. That is because that is our superpower. The baby knows that. George didn't know what to do. The first year of having a baby, how significant was Corinne versus you? Now Bo's bigger, your son's bigger.
Yeah, maybe he liked me, but he loved his mama. She loved him and cuddled him. Oh, he's crying. And I'm like, boy, get up off the ground. What you doing?
Again, what they're describing is the patriarchy. This relationship where the father is the, especially with boys, there's a reason why, like, we've all heard the whole thing of, like, mama's boy. And, like, if this dude had a daughter, he'd be, like, very protective and like the same way, like, father, it's, it's mama's boys. It's, well, what is it? I guess it's daddy's girls. Is that what it is? Yeah. Yeah, and that's like kind of the patriarchal like relationship that we have, where like fathers think they have to raise a strong man, so they're harder on them, whereas like the mother wants to shield them and wants to take care of them, and that's a structure that we've built. That's a social structure that we've built. It's not biological. It's just something that we've done for so long, something that like a lot of people are used to that relationship. Not to say that it's bad or good. It's not really a it's not a moral analysis on my part. It's just that's what that is. That's not like a there's it's not that it's a biological thing. It's social programming.
Lay him in the bed. He all right. As long as he crying, he ain't dying. We good. My wife is just so compassionate. She's emotional. Like, even women begin to lactate, even if they're not pregnant. If they have a small child with them, they can begin to lactate.
Yeah, that's
so
that's,
it's like
that's
women
like human
have been
response.
designed by God to have that level of empathy.
It's almost like we evolved
to be honest, men love that
to
about
meet our
women.
needs.
A man don't want another man. I mean, men don't want another man.
No, even gay guys.
Also, that's such bullshit, dude. I know so many guys who want like such tomboy girls. They want, like, I've known a bunch of dudes. Like, we've all known that dude who like dates women that like act like your boys, and you're just kind of like, my dude, but are you okay? And some people are into that. There's nothing wrong with that.
When you look at a gay relationship,
right.
Everybody wants different things.
And one feminine one. They're even acknowledging natural order in their unnatural relationships.
Right. It's the same
They're like,
thing.
it's always a masculine dude with a
But that's what happens.
They call it a lady boy. I don't know what to say. Like a feminine gay guy.
Yeah.
It's called femboys, first of all. Get the terminology right.
What happens?
Is it raining right now? Oh my God, it's raining. Hasn't rained in the last couple of days. It's been super hot.
Happens is, that one guy that's either been molested or he been around nothing but female energy his whole life, so he's a lot more feminine. Why does he go for a brawny man? Because he didn't have a daddy. He's looking for love from a man. That's why it's
This
important
is
for
such
men to love
pop
their
psychology.
boys and hug them and love them and give them some love, because then they go out in the world, they don't feel like they need that validation from a man because they got it.
Wait. Isn't this the exact same channel that tells men and boys that, like, isn't like part of the Daily Wire's whole thing that men don't act like men anymore? Hugging your son, showing your son love, that's not manly. Showing emotion isn't manly. Are you kidding me? This is the same network that gets on constantly and is like, oh, real men don't cry, real men don't do this, and real men do, all the rest of that nonsense. Like, and then you guys want to do like you need to, like, show your son some compassion. Like, you idiots. You like, it's double speak. I don't know how they hold these two things in their minds at the same time, where it's like, men need to teach their sons how to be men. But then it's like men also need to be soft with their, need to hug them and tell them it's okay to cry. And it's like, no, you don't believe that. You believe the former, not the latter. But, like, they want to say that because, again, it just cuts against the gay narrative. That's the only reason.
From their father. That's the big problem that we're not talking about. Your daddy can be at the house, but if he's not present, what is he doing? A man can just be there. Like my friend, he said, man, my daddy was at the house, but
also,
he wasn't present.
Most people don't have kids these days because they can't
too, and therefore
like be there for their kids because we don't have a one income.
When we talk about hyperfeminization, it's
like you can't live on one income. So most fathers are gone because they're working. Most fathers and mothers these days
really
are both working.
So
40 hours a week, if not more, just to keep the house, the roof on everyone's head.
Right to vote.
And then
why it
parents,
actually
you don't get to be around your kids as much.
Bad into our society. I said, I asked my followers, listeners, name one thing that has objectively gotten better since women have gotten the right to vote. The problem with women getting the right to vote is that we feel bad. It's true. And that is why you are correct. I was more moderate on the gay stuff because I'm like, when you say the argument.
Candace, why are you voting then? Like, why are you voting then, Candace? Why? First of all, why is Candace, if Candace really believes all of this, right? Why are you voting? Why are you talking about politics? Get the fuck back in the kitchen. I hate when they do this bullshit because it's like, no, you don't believe any of this nonsense. If you did, you'd be back in the kitchen and shutting the fuck up about politics. But, they're like, same at Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, any of the rest of these ones. They're all happy to be involved in the man's arena because it makes them money and because they're like, oh, wait, I can, there's a reason why Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert have gotten divorces lately. And it's mainly because, like, they're like, oh, I don't need a man. I make all of this money being a representative. Cool. I don't need this shit anymore. It's almost like they understand why women gaining their independence has been a good thing.
Argument of like, well, it's just love. You know what I mean? Are you the way that you feel about George, Candace? If somebody feels that way, isn't it okay for them to be together? That's such an easy entry point with women because we're going to say, yeah, if it's just gay, love each other. Whereas men, when you talk about that reaction that they instantly have.
I'm so sorry.
I don't think.
Who's my representative? I think I have DeGette. I'm in Colorado as well. I have, yeah, mine's DeGette. Which, I mean, it's better, but I really want us to primary her. I really want the Denver chapter of the DSA to primary her. But
hold the line.
I'll pray for you, Groove Dragon.
Less emotional way. They're looking at things more objectively. But
didn't
it's not
she
a
had
bad
a pretty?
thing for women to be.
She almost lost her seat, didn't she? She was like knife's edge close to losing that seat. I don't know if she can pull that off again. Hopefully she can't. Hopefully, I forget who it was. I remember her seat was like up for grabs, like up for grabs in the midterms. Hopefully she doesn't squeak out another victory next time.
Empathetic. It's a bad thing when that
5.
empathy gets hijacked for
dude, that's a thin margin.
In the same way
she's holding on for dear life.
Men are objectively aggressive. You see this with my son. You see him here. He's a psycho. Crazy. Georgie's just like, let's go. You know what I mean? It is a natural aggression. It is an aggression that then becomes
it's called testosterone.
To protect communities, to protect your home. This is why men go to war, right? And why women stay at home.
Aren't they? Wait. Aren't they against the whole like men should be the like? Wait. what they're describing is the same crisis of masculinity. Have you, like, if you've ever seen any of those Jordan Peterson videos, any of those sorts of things, what do they always talk about? Men always having to be the ones that go off to war and die. Men always being the ones that have to step up and get like injured or hurt or whatever. Men always have, and like, they talk about how that much pressure and all of that bears down on men's ability to like live their lives comfortably, because right now we don't live in a fucking warrior society. So they're always like, men don't have a place because they don't have like like what? You guys, like, you're like, you fucking idiots. Like, you fucking morons. Like, you are building the structure that keeps men down, that keeps them in this role where they're the first to die. They are thrown away by society because they're men and they can handle it. Like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. I just can't.
Because of the patriarchy, because
Yeah.
we are designed
You to the
in this
booth.
way.
Oh, that's
You
cool.
go out, hours you're put in doing your radio show, blah, blah, blah.
If you
You're
have a link
going
to it, by all
war while
means, link it in
Corinne's being
chat. I'll pin
low
it.
and putting him into the crib. It's when a man's natural aggression gets hijacked
Right.
that it becomes a problem, right? When you're suddenly sending men out and they're doing marching orders for Stalin, right? When they're just assassinate people for no reason because they're
You're in favor of that. Oh my shit. You fucking idiot. You just went on an entire explanation about men are built for that kind of action. You fucking moron. Like, what's funny also is if you want to do like the men are inherently violent thing, then I don't want to hear her ever talk about how men have a disadvantage in terms of divorce court and jail sentencing. Like, fuck right off. Pick one. Are men in a place where the patriarchy has harmed them, or is it not? For fuck's sake. They keep fucking bouncing off of these two fucking points because they have no understanding of any of this, because they're just going in whatever direction the winds are taking them, because again, they both probably don't actually have real opinions. But like, she thinks that's bad. She thinks the whole like marching in the Soviet Union and all that shit is bad and all the rest of that shit. But it's like, you idiot, you just advocated for men acting in that fashion just here. You oh my God. Oh my God. Like,
assassinate them because they're Christian, you know?
oh.
That's natural aggression that's become hijacked to do evil. And I think that right now in society,
Also, if
we
men are
aren't
more
dealing with
violent,
the
then they
crisis
deserve. Then that
of
means they
aggression that's being
absolutely deserve
hijacked.
higher jail
We're dealing with
sentences.
empathy that's being
Like,
hijacked. We
if
have a
we're gonna do the men are
hyper-feminization
just
problem.
naturally violent,
They
then
feminize
yeah,
our
then
young men.
arrest more
It's
men.
You
Then
see
scary.
the single mother rate in some of these communities are neck breaking. Then you see
shouldn't
that
wait, but isn't men being hyper aggressive not good? Like, shouldn't we kind of feminize a little bit men, just a bit, just to, you know, kind of balance them out or something?
directly
Like,
correlate to homosexuality.
Mhm.
You go to
Oh.
Atlanta and women complain about not knowing if half of the men are gay or not. And you look at the
yeah, because Atlanta has a fuck ton of gays in it, and gay dudes fucking like hit the gym and take care of their bodies a lot better than us straights here. I can speak for that. But like, yeah, a lot of straight dudes don't try. It's unfortunate, but it is true.
fact that they don't have male structure. I think that you can hijack.
Also, that sounds like a problem for the women in
female
Atlanta.
empathy. And two reasons why women voting, there's a conspiracy behind it. It's
Uh-huh.
hard to say that. I bet your audience want to kill you.
No,
and throw
they
you off the
actually
internet. Oh, well,
were
thank
like,
God.
my audience is very rational. So they were kind
My
of like,
audience is very rational in when it comes to taking my rights to participate in democracy. Is
you know,
okay.
You're right. We
Well,
women
see, if
are.
I said it, it'd probably come across a little different.
Yeah.
Women shouldn't vote. Look at him.
I just asked, do you think it's, I forget making the statement. I'm not making an argument that we shouldn't be allowed to vote anymore, but I'm saying, like, have we been responsible?
I hate to say it because
Wait, but that's what you're implying, though. You're implying that that we should take that right away because you've been irresponsible. That's God. These people are such fucking cowards.
it's like women and black people are the reason that mess everything. When you look,
Is
at
he
the
gonna argue that black people
statistical
can't
breakup of
vote?
Voting,
Okay. Is
the
that where we're
only
going?
voting group of people that have helped us become afloat and not be a communist country is the.
Wait a minute.
white- Look at
Wait a
the
minute.
statistical.
Can I ask a question real quick? This dude, Officer Tatum out here, wants to talk about being a masculine male, being a straight cis masculine male. Can I ask a question? Does he shave his legs? No, really. Does this dude shave his legs? You're gonna fucking chastise the American populace about the feminization of men, and you over here with them fucking swimmers legs? Like, bruv, why is it, I'm a leftist. Why is it my legs? Why has I got more hair on my legs than you, bruv? You're like easily 10 years older than me. Maybe not. I don't actually know how old Officer Tatum is. But what the fuck? What the fuck is this? What is this feminization I'm seeing on Daily Wire?
Political breakup of voting. The only voting group of people that have helped us become afloat and not be a communist country is the white male Christian.
Wow.
Do you think he could describe communism? Never mind. We know he can't.
If you look at the voting blocks, you go and look at, the voting of African American people. Most of them vote for Democrat, which is socialism.
Right.
I call it regressive, but they
What- Maybe is he transitioning? Maybe he is. This is in a couple years we'll get the why I left the right from Officer Tatum. What's it called? Also, like, oh man, like the idea that the Democrats are socialist is fucking comical.
to be progressive. The Democrat Party is tearing up the country.
The Democrat
And so when
Party
you look
is
at the
fucking
massive amounts of
neo-libs,
black
dude.
people vote for them. Massive amounts of women
It
overwhelmingly
didn't
vote
used to
for
be. I
Democrat.
will throw in a defense for black men though, because until they broke up the black home,
Right.
black men were voting Republican and were voting just the same way that white men were voting. And then once families got torn apart, it became emotional. Like black men became a part of that emotional, silly party that were really voting for policies that based on emotion and
Because
not
we
rationality and education.
We started being raised
Oh man, black people just too irresponsible to vote. Candace Owens over here, like, we're just too irresponsible to vote. Maybe black people should take a break from voting for a while.
by women.
Mm.
We started being raised in a feminine
Wow.
environment. Our churches went from being led by men to being led by women.
Wow.
And I think that those things create
Yeah, what's funny is that, like, also it's also incredibly misogynist because they also do like the women ruin the black community thing when women are the only thing keeping the black community afloat while the prison industrial complex continues to lock up thousands of black people on like fucking record. Like at the end of the day, like the reason why so many black people are in prison is because of over policing. Because if you jaywalk in a suburban neighborhood, there is not a cop for 12 miles to catch your ass. But if you fucking jaywalk in the hood, if you fucking jaywalk down in the over police like fucking the fucking hood, your ass is gonna get picked up. And then when you jaywalk, they're gonna sit you there and they're gonna go, maybe you had some weed on you. Oh, look at that. Now we got you for possession. Oh, look at that. Now we got you for this. Oh, look at that. Now you're in the system. Meanwhile, if you're some white boy in the suburbs, you jaywalk with some weed on you, nobody's going to be there to catch your ass. Like, it's rather simple. Over policing has caused irrefutably the destruction of the black community because when they couldn't just, own black people, when they couldn't write laws that basically explicitly disenfranchised black people and made them into second-class citizens, what did they do? They did the same thing they always do, which is you just write laws or you pass policy where you just so happen to always be ready to arrest a black person when something's happened. Every single time. You just always seem to, there's always a cop around every corner somehow. And, and people will say, well, they're breaking the law, to which we go, yeah, you're right. And sometimes it's not always about whether a person breaks the law. It's about how that enforcement is undertaken. The same way with any kind of news story, it's not about how you cover something. It's also what you're covering and the frequency of it. The same goes for policing. If you are not looking in the suburbs, you're not going to catch. And here, I'll give you an insight into this one. This is a personal experience. If you're a police officer and you're not spending your time in the suburbs, you know what you're not catching? You're not catching all of the white boys in the burbs who sell weed to the kids in the hood. I grew up in a rather diverse and very what's the word I'm looking for? In terms of economics, in terms of like living style. I grew up where in kind of the middle. We grew up in like a townhouse in a bunch of in a townhouse complex. But you go over like, you know, maybe a couple miles and you're kind of in the hood. You go over the other direction and you're in like the super rich burbs, doctors, lawyers, people who go to DC, who went to DC for their jobs. And what I found most frequently is we didn't pick up our fucking weed from the kids in the hood. We picked up our weed from the suburban white boys, because the suburban white boys, there weren't cops all over the place. There weren't people constantly out and about. Everyone's stuck in their little homes, in their little eggs, and nobody bothers each other. And most of the time, you pick up most of your quantity from those guys. Because guess what? The kids in the rich suburbs have the money to buy quantity. They have the money to buy quantity and scale of weed that then they can sell to the kids in the hood that then sell it to the rest of them. So, like, at the end of the day, it always comes down to how much you're policing any community. Go to any suburb, you're going to find that there's going to be at least a couple kids selling weed, and they're never going to get caught. They'll never do it because the cops just aren't there to look for them. They're too busy cracking down on the black kids in the next neighborhood.
That empathetic approach that may not be conducive for America, may not be conducive for the black community.
Absolutely.
And I hate to say it, but we have to look at the scorecard,
Absolutely.
like you said, is that how are we voting? And I think the government had three things in mind when they allowed women to vote. And it wasn't because of women's rights and women need a fair shake in society. It's because they could.
Well, regardless of anything else, that's the only thing that actually matters. You can make an argument to like, oh, it is, it's kind of like the, women, ever since women enter the workplace, they're more miserable. And it's like, yeah, work fucking sucks in the United States. No fucking shit. Yeah. Do I think women were happier when they got to stay at home and raise the kids when you could live off of one income? Absolutely. But like the absence of the choice to do that is the like bad thing. Like the absence of choices is what is wrong about that relationship. These people want to just be like, but it's like it's better that way. And it's like, well, that might be true, but the like an inability to make a mistake and to choose the thing that's harder is a lack of freedom, is an inability for you to exercise your freedom and your autonomy. To me, there's no argument around that one. To me, it is full stop bad to have a society where people can't make choices about how they live their life, even if sometimes they're going to choose to do the harder or wrong thing.
It only tax half of the population. They let women vote. Now they can tax both sides. They went from 50% to 100% of the population they can now tax.
What's the police situation out in like Rifle?
With your kids, instead of you being being able to take care of the family, now you working just as much as the man and where your kids go. They're going into the government system. And now the system is raising your kids. So they manipulated our society by doing that.
I was reading. What is he talking about?
They rights and women need a fair shake in society. It's because they could only tax half of the population. They let women vote. Now they can tax both sides.
Wait, is he talking about taxes? What? You don't pay poll taxes. Poll taxes were in Jim Crow. What? The only what we let women vote. Now we get to tax them. What? You only get taxed if you have a job. What? Okay.
That's they went from 50% to 100% of the population they can now tax. Now, instead of you being at home with your kids, instead of you being able to take care of the family, now you working just as much as the man. And
because it's unaffordable to live on one fucking paycheck. We made a decision long ago that the nuclear family, that the ability to live on one paycheck, we already made this decision decades ago, long before I was even born. We already stripped the ability for people to live on one paycheck. And because of that, women there was a necessity, not just for women, but for both parental figures, regardless of gender identity, to enter the workforce. Go and check the rents these days. Go and check how much a mortgage is. Go and check where the wages are. We already know this. It is unaffordable to live on one paycheck anymore. Women enter the workforce for what's the word? I just said it earlier. Fuck. For individual, not individuality. Fuck. For individual autonomy, right? But if we're talking families, it's because they can't fucking afford it. I would love to be able to like have one person just be able to pay all the bills. We live comfortably. I remember growing up for me, there was an ability where like, you know, one person worked, maybe the other person worked part-time, but like not even both people full-time. You went on summer vacations every single year. How many people even do yearly summer vacations anymore? How many people even do like vacations at all? I can like these days, we have such a housing crisis too, especially since 2008, where like, again, I mentioned housing prices. Like people in my generation can't buy homes because we stopped building homes and a bunch of corpos went and fucking bought all the starter homes to rent out to people. Like the economy is heading into a renter's nation because we allowed corporations to capture so much of our regulatory body, so much of our government, to the point that they've turned all of us into renters and they've turned all of us into fucking wage slaves. Like that's why. It's not because oh, we let women vote and now now you know, parents aren't home because you know, and now both parents are working and now you know, kids are being raised by like you know, nannies or babysitters or whatever. No. It's fucking asinine. It's all because we made a choice to not center working people and to shift our economy into a service economy. And now, like, you know, wages are shit. They haven't kept up with inflation. They haven't kept up with home prices. They haven't kept up with any metric that comports with a functional society. People go bankrupt when they go to the hospital, when they go to the ER, when they see a doctor. Like, unfortunately, for most people, it's kind of hard to live in the United States without immediately going bankrupt. Most people can't afford a $400 bill? Like, fucking spare me. Fucking spare me. Like, yeah. Like, you know, like that has anything to do with women voting.
Your kids go. They're going into the government system. And now the system is raising your kids. So they manipulated our society by doing that, on not having access to our kids and raising them like we should. Also, you know, with the taxation, and then the last point that you made, and I forget the point you just made, but I think I forget the point, but I think we'll get to it. But the 3 points were associated with that. The 2 that I added was the taxation and the lack of raising your own children.
Yeah, I think that's what the government does. They see an opportunity. They don't want to do something. So that's like Lyndon Baines Johnson. He was an avowed racist. He was a president at the time. There were all of these racial riots. He basically had to allow, you know, Black people. He had to sign the Civil Rights Act, right? And when he signed it, he notoriously said that quote, "I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years," essentially saying, all right, if I'm going to give them freedom, I'm also going to enslave them, right? And that's exactly what he did. He said, how can we benefit from having, you know, Black Americans now equal in society, and then, you know, giveth and taketh away, right? We're going to give you civil rights, but at the same time, we are going to break down your families via welfare and $1 trillion, you know, the many $1 trillion welfare industry was born to the benefit of the government and the destruction of the Black family. Same thing for women. I think women started, you know, oh, we want rights, you want rights. The government took a look at that and they said, okay, how are we going to use this to our benefit? Women are wildly emotional. So anything that we want to get past that actually is.
Here it is. This is what I was looking for. Productivity. Productivity to wages. This used to be until 1973, this used to be a pretty one-to-one relationship, that as productivity would rise, you would then also see a rise in wages, until 1973, when you see productivity soar all the way up. And this is only to 2013, but this has continued to rise. And then hourly compensation just completely flatline. The national federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. I used to have to live on that growing up. And like when I was in college, after I got out of high school, I got a job at a movie theater. It was $7.25 an hour. At the time, Obamacare had just passed. So you know what every company did, especially mine? Nobody was allowed to work more than 29 hours so that they wouldn't have to pay for anybody's health care. Meaning, on a good week, if I got $29, 29 hours on $7.25 an hour, I was lucky to make $350 to $400 maybe on 2 weeks of work. I want you to think about that for a second. That is the baseline for the entire country. $400 for 2 weeks of work. Rent, I think like rent these days, I live in Denver. Rent is for our 1-bedroom is, I believe, $10.70 now. And we're like in a very well like adjusted like or we're in a pretty low income area, right? Like not horribly so, but I'm pretty sure we're also in like affordable housing, in an affordable housing complex. But like keep that in mind. How would you ever be able to pay that? How would you ever be able to move out? How would you ever be able to save up money to eventually buy a house, grow some equity? You don't. And meanwhile, while you don't, productivity keeps going up. Company CEOs keep getting richer. Executives keep getting richer. They have to invest in something. So what do? They start buying starter homes. They start buying up all the real estate when COVID happens. We heard about BlackRock buying up a bunch of single family homes that they can sit on and use as investment properties. And then when people like me finally make, just a bit of money, finally make decent money, and we're like, okay, maybe we can start looking at houses. Nope. There's a condo right next to us. It's like right there. I can like look out my window and basically see it. There's a condo we went to an open house for because we were kind of bored, just to have fun. It's not too much bigger than this. It's about 2 bedrooms, maybe 1,000 square feet. Even that, I'm not 100% sure. Not very big though. And it's a condo. $400,000. A condo. It's not a house. Not even a townhouse. A fucking condo. 400. I think last time I looked, now it's down to 370. Or no, I think it's down to 385, I think it was. Somewhere in the 380s, 370s. And they want that for a condo now. Something that's supposed to be, for middle class people. Not a big old house. Not even a starter home. And these two fucking idiots get on here and talk about, it's because it's because we let women vote. No. Families have been falling apart because there's an inability to actually start a family and sustain that. And as Candace Owens talked once about the degradation of wages, has she talked once about the degradation of in the ability to own homes? No, she hasn't. She's never spoken about it. It's never been an interest of hers. Like at the end of the day, these like the only thing they have is bigotry, is a utter lack of understanding of anything around them. Okay. All right. So we're not gonna, we might pick this up at another time. What am I at? 15 minutes? Yeah, I'll hold on to this. But we might pick this up another time because I gotta actually run and head off for the day. But Groove Dragon, I've really appreciate you hanging out. Let me read the rest of your message. I didn't. Citizen United corporations are people and money is free speech. Yeah, it's bullshit. Let's see. Corporate greed sent manufacturing in Japan and China too. Yep. Left Denver, my rent went up from $1,200 to $2,200. Yeah, ours went up from like I think 9 to like 10 something now. Last time we signed a lease during 2008 downturn. They bought up everything with government bailout money. Banks got the money, not the homeowners. Yeah. Mnuchin joined Trump's presidential campaign in 2016 and was named national finance chairman of the campaign on February 3rd. Yeah. And at the end of the day, our taxpayer dollars went in to go fucking ourselves over, so that now we can afford we could send all of these banks, all of these private equity firms a whole bunch of free money, a whole bunch of bailout money, so that it could go reinvest it in the housing market, and they could restrict people from being able to buy houses. It's really great. It's a really great system we have here. It's you know, it's a good thing. It's a real good thing that we don't go more towards socialism or communism, because we might have real problems, if we go anywhere near those two economic systems. It's fucking joke. You know the thing, the thing that they tell, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to